Hi Leo, my Ascendant brothers and sisters. Welcome to your 2026 Astro-Tarot reading with me, Raphael from Radiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. Quick note, I am using the whole sign tropical Western astrology for that section of this. And also remember, make sure you watch these for your sun, your moon, and your ascendant. The reason for this is astrology tends to favor your ascendant sign, whereas tarot tends to favor your sun sign. With that said, I'm going to be delving into your life sector overview. We're going to be looking at your actions. We're going to be looking at your career. We're going to be delving into your love life, your finances. We're going to be looking at your spirituality, and obviously any warnings that you might need to be aware of. As if that wasn't enough, then we're going to get into your lunation section. We're going to look at your new moon and your full moon, and also how the eclipses of 2026 are going to affect you. And obviously this is a big deal for you because you are ruled by the sun. Wherever we have an eclipse, you will also find the sun being a part of that story. So this is going to be massive for you. So make sure you check those out. As if that wasn't enough, we're going to delve into your year with tarot, going 12 months of the year all the way through January through December. So if you are a continued subby, you know Rafi loves you. And if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to like, share, and if you should so choose and it resonates, hit the subscribe button. If you want to take any of this deeper, tarot, astrology, numerology, energy work, there's a link in the description box below. You can book a personal session, and make sure you check out my 2026 compass. It's the intuitive strategy for the new era. 2026 is a universal 1 year in numerology, which means it's setting off a whole motion of events that are likely to unfold and permeate the next 9-10 years of our lives. This is a whole new era that's beginning in 2026. It's my flagship service. I've never done this one before, so if you want to get that, there's a link in the description box below. Leo, it would be my pleasure to serve you in this way. With that said, stay tuned while we get into what 2026 has in store for you. Hi Leo, my Ascendant brothers and sisters, welcome to your 2026 life sector overview. So here we're going to take a look at the macrocosm of all of these different areas of life. We're going to take one major arcana card, and here we're going to explore what, in a nutshell, the year has to offer you for these different areas of your life. With that said, I would like to bless my decks of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity, and abundance, and I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise, and they help you on your path, or should I say us on our paths, to our highest vibrational good. So let's see what 2026 has in store for us. Okay, so for our actions and options, we have the Hierophant card. So this card has actually been quite active throughout the year. So it does tell me there's going to be a lot of things established and re-established over the course of this year. On a personal level, Leo, this is about you building yourself up, establishing yourself as an authority in your own life, in your own world. It also suggests that you are rebuilding and reconfiguring the foundations of your experience. Yes, that will be on a daily level, but it's also about the foundations that you lay to really build on the bigger and the larger dreams that you have for your future. The other thing with the Hierophant card, this is an initiation energy. And, you know, in a lot of ways, this card does have a lot to do with faith and religion and spirituality, and I think those will be a very big consideration for you over the next 2 years, because you've got Saturn moving through the 9th. You've also got Neptune moving through the 9th as well, so don't forget you've got those big energies moving through that space anyway. So I think there will be a lot of processes around this stuff. I think for a lot of you there may be some literal initiation of some sort that really starts to unfold. What this also suggests to me is you are, like, your actions this year are really, it's like you're taking your time to place your paws, right? It's like, you know, when you see a cat, they kind of paw the ground before they leap to it. This is the kind of a year where you are making strides, you're making moves, but you're doing this very slow and steady. You're not rushing the year, you're not going ahead, but you're not rushing the year, you're not going ahead without a plan. In fact, if anything, it's like you have a solid plan, you have a solid idea of where it is that you want to go, how it is that you're going to get there, and you are very focused on making that happen. Finally, what I will also say is, because your actions and options, what are the options that are available to you? Well, there is a chance here for you not only to get established, but to work with bigger or larger institutions. For some of you, this might be about some level of study. That's possible. For a lot of you, though, I kind of get this feeling that in some way, shape or form, you are going to be presenting to the wider world stage through or via bigger or larger institutions, or even potentially people that we would consider movers and shakers. Now, when it comes to your career, you have the Chariot card. All right, so this is pretty interesting. The Chariot suggests that this year your career really does advance in some way, shape or form. You are really moving forward. The career starts to really pick up speed. Now, remember, the Chariot is a very fast card, so there are likely to be some, twists and turns. There's likely to be some quick, fast changes, maybe a couple of hairpin rights, but there's also going to be a lot of advancement for you as well. Now, you couple this with the Hierophant card in your actions. It's kind of like you are taking your time to do or to execute what you do, but then the career starts to really take off because of that. If anything, it kind of feels like this year you really start to polish the career. You really start to make it look and feel and sound more how you've kind of always envisioned it in some way. And I can definitely feel that for myself. What I will also say is a lot of the traction that you gain this year will be momentous, right? It's the Chariot card after all. Remember, this is a victory and success card, which does suggest there are some hurdles to overcome. But this is really, I think, the process of you going through really creating and establishing those foundations so that you can gain the traction that you're looking for. Now, for those of you that are studying or in some form of academia, to say that you pass with flying colors is an understatement, so we love that for you. If you are studying, you might find that it's kind of over before you kind of really feel like it's actually got started in some way. It's quite possible that you're feeling like, wow, you know what, I blinked and all of a sudden it's over. And from your studies or whatever it is that you are learning, whatever it is that you're putting into practice, you can see things really start to take off for you this year. For those of you that are employed by somebody else, it's a very similar message. I will say, for those of you that are employed by somebody else, it's very likely that you have some kind of travel that unfolds due to or around the work. So in some way, shape or form, your boss comes to you and says, look, we've got this opportunity coming up and it's abroad, or we've got this training coming up, but it's on the other side of the country, or do you know what I mean? Like, there's advancement in the career, but it will likely come with some form of travel. When it comes to those of you that are business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, people that work for themselves, another way that this, look, the Chariot card is a great card for people that are self-employed, because it means that go-getter instinct that you already have really starts to pay off. It also suggests that the things that you are putting out this year really gain the traction that you're looking for. Now, you do have Saturn in the 9th, so if you're doing things like publishing, if you're doing things like YouTube, if you're doing things like that, you will have to work harder for it, right? You will have to demonstrate that grit. However, the results will be worth their weight in gold. So as long as you're willing to put that perspiration in, as they say, you will absolutely get good things out of it. What I also like about this is the way that you choose to set yourself forward, or the way that you choose to present yourself. It's not that it's different, it's actually that it's more you than it's ever been you before. And I kind of feel like this year, it's almost like for the people that are self-employed, it's kind of like I hear a lot of you saying, if there are things or people that I have to leave behind in order to achieve this, then this is the year that I will probably do so. When it comes to those of you that are retired and no longer working, this could be a year where there's a lot of travel. This could be also a year where you are helping somebody else get something over the finish line. So it's like you're seeing something through to completion in some way, which could be really exciting. For your love and relations, you have the Justice card. I love this. So for those of you that are partnered, married, or in a long-term commitment, this is a card of commitment. It is a card of, like, if you are partnered and not engaged, I would not be surprised if you get engaged. If you are engaged, this could be the year that you get married. There's definitely a deepening of the bond and the commitment here. There's a lot of talks about how we can bring more balance and fairness and equality. I think for those of you that are partner, or let's say you're already married, your finances, right? Maybe this year you start to really look at them and say, look, you know what, you pay the lion's share of everything, and that's not right. So I'm going to start sort of pulling my weight a bit more, or, you know, adding to the collective pot. So there's definitely like a balancing coming in. And since your career is doing, you know, really well this year, it looks like your money's going to be doing well as well. I mean, we haven't got to finances yet, so I won't speak too soon. The other thing with this, for those of you that are single, you will be glad to know that there is love on the horizon for you. What's interesting to me as well is what's coming in, this just in, is for those of you that have a, what's the word that I'm looking for? For those of you that come out of a relationship, a long-term relationship this year, you may find yourself going straight into another one. And I just got to say, that's the way that it's supposed to happen. So if you find yourself getting into your head about it, like, oh, you know, I don't know if I'm supposed to be with another person yet, maybe I should take more of a break. This seems to be the way that the universe is setting it up. So I don't know who needs to hear that, but that is the message for you. For those of you that are single though, yes, this year you will be finding love. You will be finding somebody that ends up being a committed partner to you. Now, remember, you do have Pluto in your opposite sign in the house of relationships, partnerships, connections, collaborations. So relationships, interactions on that one-to-one basis, they're taking on a deeper weight anyway. And aside from, you know, law, legal matters, etc., contracts and signing on the dotted line, well, this is a card of commitment. It's where you bind yourself to something. So for those of you that are single, I would not be surprised this year to find out that a lot of single Leos are no longer single by the time the end of the year comes. So that's really, really great news. Now, in terms of your spirituality, you have the Strength card. This is very interesting to me. If you have never taken yoga, if you've never taken Tai Chi, if you've never taken a Reformer Pilates course, if you've never done any deep embodiment or somatic work, this year is the year for it, right? This is the year that you get deeply acquainted with the spiritual vessel that is your body. You'll be paying a lot of attention to your physical health and vitality this year, my dear Leos. I really have that as a very strong feeling. And I also can back this up in terms of the astrology as well. Obviously, Jupiter comes into the sign of Leo this year. Granted, it's in like July. I think it's like July 12th. I can't remember. We'll get to that. And Jupiter coming into the sign of Leo, obviously, especially if you're watching this for your ascendant, that's your first house of your actual body. And when Jupiter comes into the first house, it can, like wherever Jupiter goes, yes, it can expand things, but it also tends to clear and, you know, enhance things. It tends to make them work better. It brings healing. It brings, you know, better function. It brings cohesion to everything that it touches. Well, Jupiter is the planet of spirituality. It is the, aside from Neptune, it is the planet of religion. It's the planet of spirituality. It's the planet of you know, meaning, right? And so understanding the deeply spiritual nature of, and I say this because the Strength card is the body, so understanding your, like, and look right underneath the Hierophant card of this, and I said that your spiritual path this year will be taking on a lot more weight. You might find that this is one of the areas that you are more focused on over the course of this year, right? And I have to say as well, I do get the feeling that Leonine's spiritual power is about to start really coming online in a really big sort of way, which I'm both excited for and a little bit nervous, because I'm kind of like, okay, well, you know, not in a big-headed way, but like I kind of feel like I'm already at, you know, like a peak. Like, where do I go from here? Like, what, you know, what will be possible when that comes? Anyway, I think spirituality for Leo people is going to be a really powerful area of focus, a really big area of focus for you. The spiritual vessel that is your body is going to be a big focus for you. And this strength card also suggests that your spiritual power, your spiritual strength is really amplified this year in some way, shape, or form. So I'm going to say this, while that might be a more internal energy, do not give it any less focus than you would your body or your home or, you know, any of the external stuff. When it comes to your finances this year, you have the Star card. Okay, so not only is this a year where you're building financial security for the future, this is going to be a year where you start to really recoup the challenges and the losses that you may have suffered over the last 2 years. So whatever's going on with the money, the resources, etc. at this moment in time, 2026 is going to see you really making a lot of progress when it comes to this. Now, you've got this right underneath the career energy of the Chariot, which does suggest that there is movement, there's advancement, and there's also hope for your finances, hope for your resources. There's good, solid, what's the word that I'm looking for? There's good, solid, movement in the finances. Your resources are absolutely being bolstered by the universe, by the work that you do and the recognition that you get. And it will be through either technology, the digital space, TV, radio, film, potentially YouTube, things like that. There's definitely some kind of boost to the finances this year that comes in. And remember, this card follows the Tower. So whatever challenges or issues you've had in the finances up until this point, Leo, you can definitely rest assured that your financial and your monetary outlook for 2026 is a lot greater. I also feel like for a lot of you, this is going to be a lot easier. And I wonder if a part of that is because your focus seems to be sort of elsewhere. So you're not really focusing on this, and it's like it's growing or it's amplifying all on its own. When it comes to the physical health and vitality, the Star card does suggest on the challenging side, you just want to be paying a little extra attention to your nervous system this year. It also suggests as well, when it comes to your home and environment, well, for some of you, you could be spending an extended period away from home this year. That would not be a surprise to me as well. And then finally, your warnings for this year, you have the Temperance card. It's an interesting card to have around for warnings. And basically the message here is you need to stay in alignment, all right? Like, this is really a year where you really do need to pay attention to where things are in balance, where things are out of balance, and it's really up to you to make sure or to ensure that things stay in alignment with where it is that you truly want to go, what it is that you're truly trying to create, and more importantly, with what you know and believe to be true for yourself on a spiritual level especially, and on an external level. The other thing with the Temperance card as well, this can represent the holistic sector, which does kind of say to me that if you have any troubles, challenges, or issues with, now obviously I'm not a doctor, I can't give you medical advice, this is not a diagnosis, disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. But what I will say to you is this, when it comes to all of the holistic stuff, whatever ailments, challenges, or issues you have in terms of your health this year, don't be afraid to try some of the alternative methods that are out there, all right? Because you could have just as good as, if not better results than what you get from, the more sort of traditional, tried and true. I guess what I'm saying is, if you've got a problem or an issue that arises physically, or maybe the nervous system really, takes a lot this year, if that's the case, maybe find some alternative ways of calming yourself and soothing yourself as well. As I said, I feel like you're going to be focused a lot on your meditation, your Pilates, your yoga, Tai Chi, somatic work. I think there's going to be a big focus on the body this year. I think there's going to be a lot of cohesion and healing that is brought to you as a result. I actually would say by the time we get to the end of the year, I think a lot of Leo people will have gone through a massive glow up of some sort. So I'm really excited to see how this unfolds. With that said, I want to let you know that the 2026 compass is now up and out there for your purchasing pleasure. There's a link in the description box below. So this year, I wanted to go even further so that I could be of service to more people in a more profound way. 2026 is a universal 1 year. This is a big deal because it sets the foundation for the next 9 or 10 years of your life. This is really about locking in what it is that you desire for the next decade of your life. And how you do this year is really going to matter. So I say this not to scare you, but actually to empower you. If you've been with me long enough, you know that everything that I do is to empower my community. Right now, that being said, the 2026 compass is live. I only have 30 spaces, and that's because I wanted to make sure that I could deliver absolute quality to every single one of the people that sign up. So what are you getting? What is it, Raf, right? I hear you saying you're going to get a 12-month tarot reading from me, literally your personal 12-month tarot reading, your energy, your life path, and then you're going to get a booklet, a PDF. You know Rafi loves a PDF. You're going to get a PDF booklet calendar that's going to have written notes in it from me about your chart, about your numbers. This is completely bespoke. I don't outsource my astrology. I don't outsource my numerology. This is whatever you have in your booklet that's written in there before you get it will literally be written by me, specifically for you, using your correspondences. As if all of that wasn't enough, when you're booking your compass place, you'll pick in December, you get a 3-hour one-to-one session with me where we are going to plan your year based on your reading, based on your chart, based on your numbers and the goal that you would like to achieve over the course of the year. We are going to go through it. Any questions that you have about your reading, right? I've had this in the past where people say, Raf, I love your year ahead, but I wish I could ask you questions about it. Well, this year you can, right? Because next year is going to be a monumental year. It's a huge year of change, and I really wanted to make sure that I showed up for people. Unfortunately, I can't do any more than 30 spaces. 1, because of the time constraint, and 2, because there's literally only one of me. There's a link in the description box if you want to get yours. Now, if you're listening to this and you're thinking it's great, also there's a payment plan. So once you sign up, you make your first payment. Second payment will be in November. By the time you get to your session in December, you're already paid up. By the time you get to January of 2026, you've got your reading, you've got your battle plan, you've got your strategy. You are ready. I'm going to put the compass in your hand, tap you on the behindy, and I'm going to let you on and watch you go into the year so you can smash it. If that sounds like too much of a commitment to you and you think, oh, you know what, I don't really have that big, and I just need to clear the decade, no problem. I've got what is effectively like a cookie clearer. It's called the Navigator, and this is going to help you, right? It's an energy work session that you do in your own time. It's also a booklet where you can use this reading to track your year ahead, all right? So go and check that out. With that said, stay tuned while we get to the next part of your reading. Hi Leo, my Ascendant brothers and sisters. Welcome to your 2026 lunations. So here we're going to be looking at the Leo moons for 2026. So let's get straight into it. So I'm going to hit share. You should be able to see your charts there, or your booklet. So this is for the Leo moons. So we're going to first take a look at your full moon this year. And your full moon this year takes place on February the 1st at 13 degrees of Leo of your respective sign. Now, with your full moon this year, your full moon is not an eclipse, but your new moon actually is an eclipse. So your full moon is kind of a bit of a lonely affair this year, Leo. It's all the way across the sky from its ruler, obviously, apart from a few oppositions, mostly to Mars and also to a wide orb to Venus. The moon is basically unaspected, which means that you yourself are being highlighted for who you are and who you are at this moment in time, as you are in this moment in time. And the fact that the sun, you are in the seventh house, means that you are boldly declaring yourself to be who you are, but maybe being met with a slightly or maybe even openly xenophobic element to this. It's possible, right? What really intrigues me here is that you're kind of enclosed by personal planets at this time. So even though the moon is in your sign and it's kind of lonely there, there'll be a lot of people and energies that are surrounding you at this time, and there'll be a lot of connections. There'll be a lot of interactions that are going on, a lot of conversations even. Maybe none of this feels welcome or familiar because the people that you're surrounded by are maybe not familiar to you, or maybe because there's other things going on. Maybe you feel like you have, or maybe you feel like you've got something that you feel like you maybe need to declare, or maybe people just really aren't understanding you at this moment in time. Either which way, that Venus in your seventh house ruling that Chiron energy as well, something about your career as it relates to other people or other people's sort of views of you is becoming sort of really deeply clear to you at this moment in time. It's an interesting moment, I think, for you guys, especially around the time of your full moon. And as I say, like this could be that Chiron energy is in a sextile even to Venus. And obviously Venus at this moment in time is in the sign of Aquarius. She does good work there. I mean, look, ultimately you are the sun, right? And you're over here in this sign of Aquarius in the seventh house. So you are out, you're going out into the world, you're connecting with other people, but the spotlight itself is on you. And so this is the interesting part, right? It's you being highlighted, but you are opposing all of the personal planets at this time, as well as Pluto. Now, obviously, the true oppositions could only be said to be sort of, I would say, probably to Venus. Everything else is kind of like a wide orb. But it's just a really interesting time. And obviously, the ruler of all of these planets in Aquarius is Saturn, and Saturn's in the sign of Pisces. Sextile, ooh, we've lost that, bear with me. And it's in a sextile to Uranus, which is newly back in Taurus, right? But it's a very tight sextile at that. It is separating, but I mean, at this point, Saturn is now sort of really starting to pick up speed to move forward. And within like 2 weeks of this lunation, we'll actually be moving, back into the sign of Aries, where Saturn and Neptune are going to make their sort of full-time conjunction. It's an interesting full moon. It just feels like it's somewhat of a lonely full moon this year. And the reason I say that is not necessarily because you will be alone, but you might be feeling like I'm surrounded by all of these people, I'm interacting with and connecting to all of these people, but none of them really sort of seem to see me, or maybe they see me and they're like, okay, we don't really know how to deal with this. It will be a very interesting time for relationships, and I think it's going to be quite a busy time for you as well. So let's get into the eclipses, because this is where your new moon is going to come in as well. We're going to start with the Aquarius eclipse on the 17th of April at 28 degrees of the sign. So again, you are the sun, right? So you're here with the moon, and this is a new moon solar eclipse at 28 degrees of Aquarius. Now, for you personally, this is in your seventh house of relationships, partnerships, connections, contracts. It's your personal, professional, and platonic interactions. And it is a partial eclipse, but it's square to Uranus in your 10th house, right? Uranus is there finishing up whatever business it has in your career sector. And I think this eclipse is really revealing to you how, like, who is working well with you and on your behalf, and maybe who isn't. So you're starting to really understand who your allies are at this moment in time. There could be surprise developments around marital status at this time. Maybe some of you spontaneously sort of declare, like, I'm dating, or, maybe you go straight into I'm engaged, and everyone's like, hang on a sec, like, you've been dating somebody all this time? Like, I mean, one thing I can tell you about Aquarius people, they tend to be quite private around their relationships. Spontaneous pairings and partings and all of that kind of stuff could be taking place at this time. Since the seventh house is also contracts, It might be that there's a business contract that comes under scrutiny at this time and maybe not necessarily, passes the test. Now, remember, whenever we're talking about eclipses, whenever we're talking about anything in astrology, you're not really talking about what happens on the day. You're talking about the potential for that moment to unfold over a period of time. So since Saturn rules this eclipse and it's in the sign of Aries, it's conjunct Neptune exactly at this time, the truth of how you really envision your life being is kind of really being revealed to you via the connections and the company that you keep. Again, mentors, coaches, gurus, therapists are all helping you to see and get right to the heart of who you actually are. This conjunction is eroding the belief structure, especially once, and obviously because Saturn for you rules your sixth house and your seventh. And I think this is really about releasing, from your body what you've gathered or what you've stored on behalf of others over the course of a lifetime, and also potentially because of others. I said that I felt that Leos were about to drop a lot of weight this year. And I really think that this is partially why, because the connections or the stuff that you have stored in your body around relationships, around past partnerships and connections, that's all going to start to shift now. And I feel like because you discover, what you're holding on to, and more importantly, why, and maybe even who with, you're about to sort of really better understand some things about yourself. I have to be honest, I think there are going to be some potentially harsh teachers this year, not so much because they don't like or love you, but because you're about to break with and release on a soul level contract of some sort. And it's kind of like, it might even mean that all of the people that you know are stripped from your life one by one, leaving you somewhat alone to really discover who you are now. Some of the ways that that could happen, especially when you consider that you've got this powerful conjunction of Saturn and Neptune, right, taking place, and Saturn as the ruler of your relationships, taking place in that ninth house, right? Well, the ninth house is foreign travel, foreign cultures. If you suddenly up sticks and move to a foreign country, the people in your life are gone and you have to start again. Like, yes, you'll be able to FaceTime them and Zoom them and, do all of that kind of stuff, but it will require you to act and to behave in a completely different manner. You'll have to, because the usual group or connections that are around you are no longer there, you will have to sort of really think on your feet as to who you are now, and more importantly, who you decide you're going to be. That's just one possibility here. Now, as well, consider that Mars, the ruler of the fourth house, is in that seventh house. Mars is a severing energy. So it is possible that there could be a release of friendship ties around, certainly from this eclipse onwards, as well. Either which way, I think it's going to be quite an interesting eclipse for you. So on the 3rd of March, we have a full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo. So you can see Luna here at 12 degrees, very close to the node, right? It's a 4-degree orb. So this is like a really solid eclipse. That moon is opposing, obviously, the sun, but also the node itself. But also we've got here a Mercury retrograde in a tight-ish sextile to a retrograde Jupiter, who is, has been stirring up some stuff for you since he's been there in that 12th house. There's been a lot going on there. Now, this is a full moon lunar eclipse in the second house of your money, your finances, your resources, your values, what you really value. And this is a true eclipse. It's tight to that node, as I suggest, and it suggests that an income stream of some sort is fading out or phasing away, but it's also releasing anything that you no longer really feel is valuable. And since the second house is money, valuables, assets, possessions, so you could be releasing a lot of things and really feeling freer because of it. So again, to keep in with that story, this idea of a potential overseas move or even just a change of location. I don't know about anybody else, but I know like every time I've moved, I've managed to every time I move, I always realize like, holy shit, Raf, you've got so much stuff. Like how much stuff can one person accumulate, right? And so every time I've moved, I have tried to get rid of some stuff, things that I don't need, things that I don't use, things that I don't wear, all of that kind of stuff. Well, if you suddenly up sticks to move to a completely different country, hauling all of your shit with you can be a very expensive experience. So it could be that maybe something like that happens now and you say, right, you know what? I don't actually need a lot of this stuff. I'll start again wherever it is that I am. Whatever is being released at this moment in time, it is going to be divinely guided and inspired. And there's also a lot of protection from a retrograde Jupiter that kind of says, even if one income disappears, another one will come, another one will replace it. And maybe something that was a skill or a hobby in the past becomes a money earner once more. So it's like maybe you bring a service or a skill or maybe even an arena of some sort back into your earning potential in some way, shape, or form. Another one could be because that Jupiter is sextile to the eclipse itself, offering abundance, offering protection. As a ruler of Mercury, Mercury rules the eclipse, he offers some relief to. Now, what's really interesting is Mercury is retrograde in the sign of Pisces, right? Now, Mercury then technically, because it's in the sign of Pisces, is actually ruled by the energy of Jupiter. Well, Jupiter is also retrograde, but it's in its sign of exaltation in your 12th house. So the ruler of the moon is in Jupiter's sign, and Jupiter, the ruler of the Mercury, and therefore the eclipse as well, is actually in its sign of exaltation. While both of these are retrograde, so be careful because there can be some miscommunications at this time, and in particular around money, finances, and resources, especially because Mercury doesn't just rule this eclipse, it also rules your 11th house. So there could be things around contractual matters, around money, finances, and resources, especially around things like commissions, loans, taxes, debts, anything of that kind of nature. And I will say this is really not an ideal time to be signing any financial contracts around joint resources, loans. I would definitely say, if you've been with me long enough, you've heard me bang on about this a lot. Even though Jupiter is really nicely aspecting this eclipse and it's really nicely aspecting that the node and the Mercury, I still would not, unless you absolutely have to, this is not a time to take a loan. Jupiter retrograde is not a good time to take a loan ever because it never ends up going the way that you expect and it always ends up running for longer than you think it will. All right, so just something to be aware of at this time. The other thing is as well, because this is an eclipse like this actually hasn't happened for you for a while, not since 2007. So the difference between then and now, Leo, is you are not who you were then. You are not who you once were, and also what you once were. And that is really the power of this eclipse. If you're willing to let go of the mindset of poverty and scarcity and lack, it can really open the doors here for you, especially with that Jupiter in the 12th of the psyche, the self-sabotaging tendencies. There's a chance retrograde to redo, to rewire your brain or your subconscious in one way or another to say, okay, I'm going to let go of the lack mindset. I'm going to let go of the poverty and scarcity energies. It does, however, rely on you, how you connect to the cosmos, really, right? And how you connect to your own reality and your own personal power. Because of this, there's such an intense focus on the 8th house at this time. You will need to release some kind of trauma before you can sort of truly move forward. And I really think that that's what the trade-off is here. If you're willing to really look at your hurts, your wounds, your traumas around money, finances, resources, joint ventures, where things haven't worked out before, if you're really willing to delve into that stuff and look at it really frankly and honestly and harshly, the thing that you could really clash out or release with that with that south node in the 2nd house might not even be an income stream. It might be how you view money, how you look at money, how you use money could all be really shifting now. And it's like, I almost feel like once you let go of whatever this eclipse is trying to say to you, like, let go of this, release this thing. Once you've done that kind of inner work, I actually think that what comes out of it will be incredibly empowering for you in the long run, right? Jupiter's in the 12th, helping you rewire your subconscious, especially in a really nice sextile to the moon or the eclipse. And on top of that, Mercury is in your eighth house of other people's finances or big money, big cash, big resources, helping you rethink and redefine and redevise how you understand money and partnerships around such things as well. Really, really potent stuff here. So on August the 12th, we have the second eclipse season now opening up for you. That is a busy old chart, isn't it? Right, so we've got here the sun and the moon together, a new moon solar eclipse on the south node. It's still a partial because, there's still like 10 degrees between the two here. So it is a partial eclipse, but this is about you, Leo, right? When isn't it, darling? But this really is about you. This is all, look at all of the energy in the first house, right? We've got Mercury at 5, we've got Jupiter at 9. Jupiter doing very good work for you at this point, right? In your first house, it's helping amplify and elevate you. But that Jupiter in the first house is not just about amplification or elevation, it's also about cohesion. Wherever Jupiter goes, it cleans up and clears that space. Mars comes in and kind of cuts things away and, says, right, we're going to chuck that in the bin. We're going to get rid of this. It puts foot to arse, right? So Mars is also needed, but Jupiter tends to really clear up the area and make it more cohesive so that it runs smoother, it runs easier, and therefore it becomes a dynamo of connective, collective, and magnetic positive energy. And that's one of the best ways to use Jupiter, especially as it moves through your first house. This is really helping you shine. It's helping, important people see you in a good or a different light in some way. So this eclipse for you, where is it? This one is a new moon solar eclipse. So it's a partial, as I said, but it's your first house. It's being activated in a big way, and that Mercury energy there and that Jupiter energy there, it's like, since this is a South Node eclipse, it's a complete refresh of who you are. How do you do that? Well, by letting go of who you're not. This really reminds me of the story of Da Vinci's David, right? And when they said to him, like, how did you create such a masterpiece? And he says, I just took away everything what David was already in there. I just took away everything that wasn't him. And I think that's what this eclipse is really going to do for you. It's going to allow you to kind of say, okay, you know what? Once upon a time, that was me. Once upon a time, I did things this way. Once upon a time, I was ... But that's not me anymore. You, my dear Leos, are the thing that's being eclipsed this time, which means that changes are happening. And as you move forward through the world, it's possible that you could be moving through the world with something that you are now relinquishing. So it's kind of like you're letting go of a version or a perception of who you are or who others think you are. Something is being released here, and it allows you to walk forward in a way that brings a lot of personal clarity, especially your beliefs and your daily experience, and maybe even around your health as well. Certainly around your appearance, right? Because the first house is the appearance. It's, how you move through the world. The only aspect that this new moon solar eclipse is really making when you look at it is actually the eclipse itself is connecting to Saturn. Technically, so is Jupiter, because Jupiter's at 9, Saturn's retrograde at 14, and so Saturn and Jupiter are actually getting closer to each other in a really nice fire trine, right? This is such good energy. What I love about this as well, for me personally, I just have to interject this, is I've got Uranus in Sagittarius as well, so I'm going to be getting a nice grand fire trine next year, and I fully intend to be putting some foot to bat. Anyway, this is not about me, it's about us. All right, but yeah, there's that, fire trine energy between Saturn retrograde in Aries in your ninth house, and also around the Jupiter energy in that first house, right? So the first and the ninth house, your worldly perspective and outlook is absolutely shifting. Maybe you are returning to school or gathering new intel or knowledge. Maybe you're shifting your belief system in some way, shape, or form. Now, since the Saturn energy for you that's in the ninth house rules your sixth and seventh, relationships and daily interactions with those people who basically either help or hinder your progress are definitely going to be coming up at this time. So you might be connecting with coaches, with mentors, with gurus, specifically ones from the past. But these are people who are really putting you through your paces. They're forcing you to grow in some way. They're forcing you to change, forcing you to evolve. But remember, this is not about what you accept from others. It's about where you can take the hits and the hardships and push on and turn that into power. And I guess what I'm trying to say to you, Leo, here is if you shrink away from this and you cower and you kind of, oh, I can't handle it. Or on the other side of it, you can rise up and you can claim your power and you can understand that the relationships in your life are there by choice and it's up to you whether you let them in the door or not. No fucking around here, Leo, right? It's time to really grab yourself up by your bootstraps and do it sort of, do it different and do it big. I love that Jupiter Saturn trine, right? We had the Jupiter Saturn conjunction, the Great Conjunction, as it's called, at zero of Aquarius, right, back in 2020. And now, after we've had, oh gosh, we've had some moments, right, of everything that it's gone through, we're now having this trine, right? So we've had the challenges between Saturn, we had the Saturn Jupiter square, which was it was not nice, right? I'm just going to call a spade a spade. It was not nice energy. But now we have the trine, and this is where we can really gain some traction with this. And since Jupiter for you in your chart rules your fifth house of luck and speculative endeavors, it also rules your eighth house of other people's finances, big money, resources, your occult and spiritual powers as well. Fifth house, eighth house stuff is really good for money, really good for finances, and Jupiter, Saturn stuff, especially when it's harmonious, is also good for finances and resources. So I'm definitely feeling like there's some nice boons and benefits and blessings that are coming out of this eclipse. They're just going to take their time to unfold. But as I say, at this point, I would not be surprised to find out that you have coaches, mentors, gurus, people that are really pushing you, and it might feel like a little bit of punishment, right? They might really be wearing you down and grinding you down in some regard, and you have to decide whether this is whether this is actually building you up in the long run, or if it's just you taking crap for the sake of it. And I think if it's the latter, we are definitely going to hear some Leos roar this year. For the final eclipse on the 28th of August at 4 degrees of Pisces, you can see here we have a full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces. This is the last one in this financial axis for you. So that is done now, right? We've got a whole new energy coming in because, as you can see, the North Node is now in the sign of Aquarius. The South Node is now in the sign of Leo, right? So obviously we had that in the Leo eclipse as well, but here I think it will be really palpable. Now, what's really funny is this is setting up what we call, it's a true eclipse because it's only like 4 degrees away. But it is what we call a dissociated eclipse because the node is in Aquarius in your 7th house and the moon itself is in your 8th house. So there's kind of like a combination of these two energies in there for you. Now, the final Pisces eclipse for at least 9 years anyway, before we have the next one, and the next time it will be the South Node that will be in this space, right, is going to be somewhat interesting affair, especially because it's in that 8th house. Now, while it is alone, it's tight to the node, right? And so this is, and the node, obviously the North Node is in the sign of Aquarius. So even though it's this 8th house energy, the focus is still at least partially on relationships. The moon, now ruled by Jupiter in your sign, takes on a bolder energy, and it's trying to Mars in Cancer in your 12th house. There's something about owning your demons or facing up to a challenge of the past, and this time you win. This time it's like you're staring it down. You've got that Mars in the 12th, so you're willing to cut something off in a trine to the moon in the 8th house, right? And that's obviously the moon there is, and technically as well, Jupiter also, even though Jupiter is not the ruler of Cancer, Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. So the fact that this moon is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is in the sign of Leo, a sign and an energy that it really understands well, in, again, almost a perfect trine at this point with a retrograde Saturn in your 9th house. This thing really, I feel like this speaks volumes. There's something about truly owning your past, owning your demons, and coming out that much stronger for it and saying, yeah, you see that doesn't have, it doesn't have control over me anymore. And I feel like because its ruler is in your sign, you are carrying the weight of yourself like never before. The shoulders are square. Jupiter is directly trying to a retrograde Saturn in that 9th house, which to me really kind of says to you that the test that came from the harsh teachers and mentors have taken you into a brand new version of yourself. And it's like, here, whatever challenges you face this year, Leo, I really feel that by the time we get to this eclipse, you will be so much stronger, so much more powerful, so much more aware of yourself and your power and your ability. It's like everything about you is now under your control, more than potentially it ever has been before. You'll likely see it. There'll be a personal power sort of element fully in hand. That's the goodies, right? And then there's the T-square that the moon is setting up with Uranus in Gemini as a way through. Mercury and the sun in your 2nd house are opposing the moon in your 8th. So there's something here about potentially what I would call a soul conversation that really needs to be had. And because Uranus is setting up the T-square with this moon and the sun and Mercury, and obviously that Uranus energy in the sign of Gemini is really asking you to do things very differently. On the material level, it feels like some kind of financial consideration that, like, on the one hand, it feels really good, but also on the other one, potentially feels a little bit hollow. And it's like, maybe you're not really sure how you feel about it. And it's communicating from your soul about who you are and how you see yourself. And because Uranus as the anchor there, or the way through the T-square, it's like you're going to have to think outside the box when it comes to your goals. But, to go beyond that, you're going to have to break the mold completely. This is about, saying, you know what, maybe once upon a time that was the goal. Maybe once upon a time I would have limited myself to say, that's enough. That's, don't be greedy, don't be this, don't be... Well, you know what? Fuck that. All of those bets and all of those things that I once would have said to myself, that's off now. It's like in a sense, you're coming to break yourself out of jail in some way, because what follows this is maybe that you meet or connect with somebody who truly changes your life. The 11th house is benefactors, right? And with Uranus in the 11th house, you can meet some really weird and wonderful people at this time. But you could also spontaneously meet some incredible people that really help end up changing your life in some way. It suggests that you're working towards creating a much better financial future for yourself. But the way through that is really by knuckling down, creating a truly passive income stream for yourself that allows you to put your focus elsewhere. This is, after all, still a financial eclipse, right? And the fact that it's connecting to this Uranus energy in the 11th, yeah, I think that really speaks volumes. I think this is such an interesting eclipse for you this year, and it'll be interesting to see sort of how it plays out. So with that said, that is your 2026 moons. Stay tuned, because we're about to get into your 2026 the rest of your 2026 reading. But I do want to take a moment to tell you about the 2026 compass. You are going to want to check this out. There are only 30 spaces, and there are only 30 spaces because that's how many people I'm truly going to be able to help and serve. Why? Because there's so many elements to it. You're going to get a 12-month reading. You're going to get a personalized calendar and PDF printable book. On top of that, you're also going to get a 3-hour one-to-one session with me where we're going to plan your year based on your reading, based on your numbers, based on your chart. There's so much in this. And as if all of that wasn't enough, you're going to get a winter solstice, a complimentary winter solstice seat. Yes, the winter solstice is back for 2025. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And if you want to get a free seat, then you need to sign up to the Compass. There is a payment plan available. So you will be paid up, clued up, and ready for 2026 before we even get out of December. All right, with that said, stay tuned and we're going to get into your next part. Hi Leo, my Ascendant brothers and sisters. Welcome to your 2026 tarot section. So let's get straight into it. Before we start, need a tarot deck first. Before we start, as always, I would like to bless my decks of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity, and abundance. And I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise, and they help us all on our paths to our highest vibrational good. So remember, your first card out, it kind of typifies the year that you're going to have. So I always say to people, if your first card out is a challenging one, don't throw the whole thing in the trash. It just means that it's something that you need to be aware of. Now, with that being said, remember that when it comes to your first card, I wonder what the hell that was. There's obviously something happening outside. We've got the Wheel of Fortune. All right. So love that because it means that luck and fate are absolutely on your side this year. It also suggests that this is going to be a massive year of change. Whenever we're thinking about the Wheel of Fortune, we are talking about where the universe itself is decreeing that things are moving forward. It is divine intervention, it's luck, it's success, it's also the results of the things that you set into motion. So this year is going to be all about that. Now, what's really interesting and really does excite me is obviously my numerology geek brain. This year, universal year is a universal year one. 2026 is a universal 1 year. Well, the Wheel of Fortune is number 10. In numerology, we slice off that 0, it gives you the number 1. So you will have an affinity to this year by rote. And the other thing that you need to remember as well is in terms of numerology, the number 1 is actually the sun. The sun is the ruling planet of Leo. So lots of good overlap energy here. Now, when it comes to your clarifying energy, you have the Ace of Pentacles. So love this. This is a turning point for your money, your finances, and your resources. January is going to be a very good month for money, Leo. It's also going to be a month where there's a turning point in your financial story, in your financial outlook, or even monetization of whatever it is that you're doing at this time. That's really exciting. It does suggest as well for a lot of you, January could bring new work, new job opportunities. Potentially for some of you as well, this could bring new living situations into the mix as well. So really, really exciting stuff. The other thing is on January the 26th, we've got Neptune moving back into the sign of Aries, which is for you, your 9th house. This is good because it's going to be sending positive energy to your sign. You're getting a really nice trine from Neptune. Now, as we step into February, this is a packed month. There's a lot going on here. We've got a Mercury retrograde that starts on February 26th. That goes all the way to March 20th, I believe, and that is in the sign of Pisces, which for you occupies the 8th house, other people's money, finances, and resources. If you want to find out how all of this speaks to you on an astrological level, you can hit the link in the description box below and get an Astro-Tarot reading with me. And we'll delve into it. On top of that, you also have Saturn moving back into the sign of Aries, again, setting up that trine energy to your sign, coming into that 9th house. Saturn's moving in on the 14th of February. On the 20th of February, Saturn and Neptune come into their actual conjunction in the sign of Aries. This is a big deal for all of us in some way, shape, or form. This is happening in your ninth house. And as if all of that wasn't enough, there is also a new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Aquarius, which is your seventh house of relationships, partnerships, significant connections, and contracts. So it's a pretty big month, right? February is going to be a month of big, intense energies for everybody. So buckle up, as they say. For this, you have the Empress, but it is going to be a time of growth, a time of expansion, something about your environment. I'm going to call it and say I think there's new work, new living situations unfolding for a lot of Leo people here, whether this is your sun, moon, or ascendant. I'm really excited about this for you. The fact that you have the Empress as well suggests that whatever you're setting into motion at this time, even with the Mercury retrograde going on, it has a bearing on your finances, on your environment, and it's also setting you up for good, fruitful connections. Now, you've got this with the Two of Swords. For some of you, if you are of childbearing age, this could be a time where there is, where fertility is high. For others, you could be signing contracts around properties, you could be signing contracts around home. It is a Mercury retrograde and an eclipse season, so you really do want to be thinking very seriously about any big financial commitments at this time. That being said, the Two of Swords also suggests that there is a feeling of things really coming up in terms of so the Two of Swords can sometimes represent where we feel we need justice. This coming up with the Empress card suggests that there could be some kind of external support coming in, specifically and typically from women. And then finally, the other way that this could show up is maybe there is some kind of support that comes in that you really don't expect. As we come into March, we've got the second eclipse of the season. This is a full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo, which for you occupies that second house of money, finances, and resources. You'll be glad to know it's the last one in this cycle, Leo. So this for you is obviously taking place in that second house. It is an eclipse, but it's really nicely aspected. Make sure you check out your lunation section so that you can get an understanding of how these are going to shape up for you. Now, for this, you have the moon card, which makes sense, right? It is a lunar transit after all. This is talking about the past, and my feeling about this is that you are wrapping something up. You've got this with the Nine of Swords. March is potentially a challenging month, right? I'm just going to be straight up with you. And the chances are you are closing out or wrapping up a larger cycle in some way, shape, or form. I kind of get the feeling that something's coming to light at this time. Maybe something that you either didn't want to come to light or maybe something that you weren't aware of. It's coming to light so that you can move forward from it. Now, remember, whenever you're talking about the moon card, this is the past. Remember, whenever you're talking about the Nine of Swords, this can be some kind of mental anguish or turmoil or potentially even anxiety. And I will say, because of the way that these cards combine with each other, March could be a time that is really high anxiety. It might not necessarily be that anything externally is really too crazy, but you might be really internalizing it, and therefore the anxiety level could just be through the roof. What I will also say as well is there seems to be a lot of you burning the candle at both ends in March. So whatever's going on, you're spending a lot of time, effort, and energy in the evenings, right? So whatever you're doing or not doing, as the case might be, you're spending a lot of energy, not just during the day, but at nighttime. So I will say, do be mindful of your health at this time, because obviously you want to be in tip-top condition. As we come into April, we have Uranus moving back into the sign of Gemini. For you, this is your 11th house of friendships, networking, it's social media. The 11th house is group associations, people that you're connected to. The 11th house also represents passive income, other income streams. The 11th house is also the gains that you get from your business. So you could be having a lot of stuff going here around such things. And remember, it's now in there for the next 6 years. For this month, you have the Strength card. So this is one of your cards because Strength is ruled by Leo, which does suggest, again, your physical health and vitality and your body are very much to the fore. You've got this with the Six of Cups. For a lot of you, you could be returning to an ideal weight. For a lot of you, you could be returning back to your competition era sort of, form, if that makes sense. Like, if you, let's say you used to compete, you might be getting back to your same times. If you're a runner, you might be getting back to, let's say, if you were anything like me, you used to dance. Like, I used to be able to dance for 45 minutes straight, and I would be fine at the end of that. I get to like 10 minutes now, and I'm like, right? So we could be returning back to your days in some way, shape, or form. You're returning to a version of your body or your health that you're really happy about. So you're seeing a lot of movement, a lot of change, a lot of um, I want to say adaptation, but it feels like in one way you're going backward, but in another, like, you're really moving forward. So it's really positive. The Six of Cups also represents nostalgic or happy moments or times. So for a lot of you, I actually think April is a month where you really decide to knuckle down and dedicate yourself to going after a goal that maybe your heart always wanted as a child, maybe something from your yesteryears that you'd convinced yourself, like, oh, I can't have that, or I'm too old, or I've aged out of this, or whatever. It's like you kind of, at this point, by the time you get to April, you're like, no, fuck that, I'm going for it. I also forgot to mention, in the month of February, on the 1st of February, you also have the annual Leo full moon. So if you want to find out about that lunation section, go and check it out. I love April, though. I'm totally here for that. Now, as we come into May, you have the Hierophant card. So this, interestingly enough, at this point, the sun kind of moves into your 10th house. So there's a lot going on with your career at this time. And the fact that the Hierophant card is Taurus ruled, this could be something about your work, your career, or your profession. You could be establishing or re-establishing a role. You've got this with the Seven of Wands. So I'm going to say, when it comes to May, do be careful. And one of the reasons I want to say this is because it looks like if you're employed by somebody else, you could be having a bit of a battle with the establishment that you work with, or maybe even an authority figure. So do be aware of that, because your arena or sector in some way could be coming under it. Now, the other thing that I would say to you, because the Seven of Wands represents you having the moral high ground, wherever it is that you're going up against something or someone that's bigger than you or has like a higher position, etc., this is something for you to absolutely keep an eye on, because it could escalate. When we come into June, we have Chiron moving into the sign of Aries. Chiron is coming into your 10th house. This is a big deal for your career. It's going to be a moment. You're just getting a little taste of this. It's going to dip in. It's going to, stir things up, and then it's going to come back out, and then it will come back in at a later date. As if that wasn't enough, we also have the second Mercury retrograde of the year. This one's going to be in the sign of Cancer, and this one's going to be a little more delicate for you, Leo, because it's in your 12th house. Your past, your privacy, your self-sabotaging tendencies, your hidden motives, the things where you undo yourself, hidden enemies is also the 12th house. Lots of stuff going on in there. Now, the other thing that I'll say to you is, because this month you also have this Chiron energy and the Mercury retrograde, this could also be where you are having things, people, or connections, or potentially even issues from the past around the career are showing up. If you're going back into something, with your career, I would just be extra careful around this time. Now, on June the 30th or July the 1st, depending on how you look at it or where you are in the world, Jupiter comes into the sign of Leo. Finally, there is a break in the case. You get a moment where you will feel it, right? You're going to feel this one. It will be palpable in some way, shape, or form. Now, I love this because with everything else going on, that Jupiter energy coming into your first house, you're going to feel an uplift. You're going to feel a lightness. You're going to feel a buoyancy and a protection that comes in to really infuse you in some way, shape, or form. And yeah, I'm really excited about this one. So stay tuned. Now, for this, you have the Lovers card: love, relationship, partnership, significant other connections. Remember, the Lovers card is also choice, right? And so you've got this with the Judgment card. For a lot of you, you might be getting into a really strong relationship. So for some of you, this could be a soulmate connection. For some of you, this could be a deep sort of significant other connection. You might meet somebody that you think, wow, I feel like I've known you before. It could be somebody that you really feel very deeply connected to, very intimately tied to, which is lovely. For those of you that are partnered, married, or in a long term commitment already, this is where your relationship is facing a moment of, I don't want to say crisis, but it does feel like a crunch point. It's almost like your relationship is kind of saying to you, we either adapt now and do something different and we take it all the way to what it really has the potential to be, or we have to call it quits. For some of you as well, remember the Judgment card is the blast from the past, and coupled with the Lovers card, it could be that some of you reconnect with a past partner. It could be that some of you go back to dating somebody that you were once with. It could be that you give it another shot. It could be someone from your deep past that you reconnect with, and you think to yourself, like, wow, like, what are the odds that we reconnected, and what are the odds that we reconnected at this moment in time? Either which way, June is going to be a big month for relationships. I also get the feeling as well that you're making a choice of consequence over the course of June. And when I don't really like that word, but that feels like the right terminology for it, because whatever you're doing in June, it's going to have really big ripples in your life after this. And I think for the positive, but equally it's going to, like, whatever decisions you're making in the month of June, they're likely to be ones that create big ripples. As we come into July, on July the 18th, we've got the nodes moving into a new sector. So we've got the South Node moving into the sign of Leo, that's your sign, into your first house. We've got the North Node moving into the sign of Aquarius, that's your seventh house, which means that from here on in, the eclipses are starting to hit in that first seventh house axis. This is what we call an angular axis, which means that these new series of eclipses, you will feel them. They are going to be eclipses of consequence. Now, that being said, as I said, we've got this July energy of Jupiter coming into your sign. I'm totally here for this. As many of you know, I'm a Leo ascendant, so I'm kind of like, woo, Jupiter in the first. Right? Like, I'm just going to be riding it and milking that one all the way home, honey. For this, we've got the Magician card, right? So July, I forgot to mention, if you are a July born Leo, happy damn birthday to you. I truly hope you have a wonderful solar return. Remember to fill the day of your birthday with a little bit of everything that you want the whole entire year to have in it for you. Now, for this, we've got the Magician card. I find this really interesting because we start the year with the Wheel of Fortune. The Ace of Pentacles literally represents a one as well. Then we've got the Magician in July when Leo season starts officially, and the Magician card is number one. So you're really tapping into your personal power. July is a month where you're really stepping into that. You're embodying it. You're shining in some way, shape, or form. The Magician card is going to see you communicating with gravitas and power. It's going to see you amplifying your reach or your voice. Some of you could be giving a speech or a talk of some kind at this time. Maybe your status is being elevated in some way. With this, you have the Six of Wands. I mean, look, if there's no accolade or celebration of you, Leo, in the month of July, something's going on, right? This is mega. The month of July is beautiful energy. I think this has a lot to do with the fact that Jupiter is moving into your sign. You've got the Six of Wands, victory and success, coupled with the Magician card. So there's a promotion for a lot of you, the amplification of your voice, a moment of real power where you are noticed. Maybe you're connecting with a power player. If you've got your own business, maybe you get like an amazing celebrity client or something along those lines. There's lots going on here, and the month of July is absolutely mega. As we come into August, you have the second eclipse season of the year. The first eclipse is on the 12th of the month. That's a new moon solar eclipse in your sign, in that first house. It's that first one, right? And then you've got the full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces on the 28th, which will be in your 8th house, and that's the last one. That way, once we get to August 28th, that is the second house, eighth house axis completed for you, Leo. It's done. You don't have to worry about it for another 9 years yet. Now, for this, obviously, you've got your annual new moon, which this year is an eclipse. You've got the high priestess here. So something hidden is definitely coming to light. You are being eclipsed. So there's definitely something being revealed. And you've got this with the Six of Swords. I think a lot of you are planning some kind of big move, some kind of big shift, that potentially connects you with foreign cultures, distant lands, or overseas. You've got two sixes here right next to each other. Two sixes represents balance or irritability. As if that wasn't enough, it's right underneath a third six. Three sixes represent success. So July and August are absolutely success months for you. I think very, very interesting. There's some kind of secret trip, secret journey, exploratory trip that you're taking in the month of August. I think you're going to be very low key, even though it's birthday season, right? So whatever the big noise and fanfare is of July, come sort of August, everyone's going to be like, hey, wait, hang on a sec, where's Leo? Right? Like everyone's going to be asking where you are because you've kind of fallen off the radar. And I have the feeling, the distinct feeling that that's exactly how you want it. Now, before we get into September, I do want to talk to you about the 2026 Compass. I've got an exciting opportunity, but only for 30 people. I can only manage 30 spaces. Imagine having a 12-month tarot reading like this specifically for you that we use as a blueprint. Imagine having a PDF calendar with notes and written insights on your astrology, also your personal numerology for the year ahead. I'm going to give you all kinds of insights, all kinds of prompts, all kinds of journal prompts as well. And as if all of that wasn't enough, you get a 3-hour session where you and me are going to sit down. We're going to co-create a plan and a strategy for you to utilize so that you can sail through 2026, lean into all of these blessings, sidestep any of the challenges that come up. And as if all of that wasn't enough, you also get a complimentary, completely free seat on the winter solstice activation session, which is on the 21st of December 2025, so that you can get your energy right before you step into the new year as well. There is a payment plan. You pay your first installment on sign up, the second installment in November. So by the time you get to your 3-hour session in December, you're already paid up. By the time you get to January, you are already clued up and ready to go into the year to win. Whew. All right, there's only 30 spaces. There's a link in the description box below. If you can imagine how much work has gone into these, imagine how much more work is going to go into each one of those compass holders. So for September, you have the Emperor card. So some kind of authority and questions around such things are coming up. You've got this with the Seven of Wands. That Seven of Wands, Seven of Cups falls right underneath the Seven of Wands. 2 sevens represents news. The news that's coming in around authority figures, around your father, if you know them or you interact with them, around your boss could be coming in. Whatever's unfolding with a boss here in May or around authority matters and issues will likely be resolving itself here in September. The other thing with the Seven of Cups is, remember, this is where I always say to my clients, streamline the process. There's too much on the plate. Another way that this could show up as well is your commitments, Leo, could absolutely be getting the better of you. Now, what I want to say to you is this, right? Because you've got a couple of months in here already that are somewhat more challenging. Whenever you see challenging messages come up in these readings, now that you know this, you can preempt it. And I always say this to people, the whole point of oracular or divinatory work is to see what's coming up, so that not necessarily so that you can, just change the outcome, but now that you know it's coming, you can prepare. Once you've got that heads up, you can start to build a strategy. If you want to build a strategy with me based on your year, and I mean, this is one set of energies for the whole sign. Imagine what this is going to be like when we focus and harness the energy of you and we really build a strategy based on you. That's what the compass is. Now, as we come into October, We have the third and final Mercury retrograde of the year in the sign of Scorpio. This for you is in your fourth house of home, property, family, real estate. It's also your deep emotional makeup. Now, as if that wasn't enough, we also have Venus going retrograde in the sign of Scorpio. She's going to come back into the sign of Libra, into your third house. So she's moving from your fourth to your third. That's a lot of personal planet energy, personal planet retrograde energy, and there's going to be a lot of rethinking, a lot of recommunicating. Now, for this, you have the Temperance card. There's a chance for you to bring some remedial actions in and also to bring more balance and equilibrium into your space, which is great. You've got this with the Ace of Cups. Something that you mend or something that mends or reconnect at this time really warms your heart. The fact that there is Mercury and Venus retrograde, it suggests that there's something to do with a relationship, something to do with a sibling, something to do with a living situation or a home, or something that's been deeply emotional. Something is healed here in October. And I think as it is healed, your life finds a great deal more balance moving forward. I love that. I'm totally here for that. As we come into November, you have the Chariot card. So November's going to be a fast and furious month. Things really pick up steam and start to move. So you just know that it's going to be a dynamic month, right? There's also you overcoming something. You have this with the Three of Wands. I would not be surprised to find out that a lot of Leos, I wouldn't be surprised to find out that a lot of you declare that you're moving in November. Some of you potentially moving abroad, moving overseas, that's very possible. For others, it looks like you are putting your focus on some kind of entrepreneurial event or idea. What I like most about this is it seems to be a response to everything else that's happened. So it's not just like a knee jerk thing. So, whatever you're exploring in August, November will be where this thing comes to life or comes to light. It's where you actually do something with it. Now, Venus and Mercury will both go direct in November. So if you can wait until then, it means that you're outside of the retrograde period. What I would also say is November sees, like, there's, because the Chariot card is victory and success. With the Three of Wands, which is a lucky entrepreneurial energy, it's like whatever you're doing or you set into motion, something comes full circle and it has a really great start or an amazing beginning. As we come into December, Jupiter's going to go retrograde this month. We've got the Judgment card, right? So this is a big turning point. You've got this with the Queen of Swords. December's going to bring something up, Leo, that's going to see you needing to really make a solid decision about whether you're going to fight for something or not. The Judgment card is usually something from the past, but it's a call to action. You have this with the Queen of Swords, which is about what you fight for. This is also would be an air sign woman, Aquarius, Gemini, Libra. So an air sign woman from your past may feature for you here in December, but she might be a really big part of how you move through this time, right, in December. But also, there's likely to be something that you're having to make a really solid decision on whether you're actually going to fight for this or not. It's like, am I that invested in this thing for me to really fight for this or to go for it? Now, that being said, your challenge months this year, I think February and March, potentially April, are challenge months. I think May is a challenge month, and I think September is a challenge month. Your power months, however, January, I absolutely love. I actually really like June as well, even with the stuff that's going on astrologically. I love June for you. July is your peak moment, your peak time. It's where the energy is highest and best for you. August, I really like, to be honest. I love October, and I'm a massive fan of November. All right, so you've definitely got a nice mixed bag in there. Your human design oracle deck message is the Gate 18 and Perfection. this is a reminder that not only does perfection not exist, but what you are as you are is already perfectly imperfect, right? And the other thing about this is where you can see, like this card basically says, where you can see that something can be done better or where you yourself could be better, this is the time to do it. This is a year where I think a lot of improvement is going to unfold for you. I love the fact that Jupiter is in your sign because it's going to bring a lot more cohesion. It's going to refine your edges. It's going to make you better, smarter, harder, faster. It's going to help you really refine all that you are. And these cards do suggest there is a lot of growth here. In particular, actually, I think this is going to be a very good financial year for a lot of you. I think this is going to be a great year in terms of the career, even with some of the bumps and the hiccups that are going to be happening. All in all, I think this could be a pretty good year. If you want to get a personal astrology reading with me, you can do so on the link in the description box below. If you want to get one of those 30 seats as a compass holder, you can do so on the link in the description. With that said, whether you check in every month, every quarter, every 6 months, I love that you do. I love reading your comments. I love seeing you guys use these to come back to them over and over. It really does mean a lot. It warms my heart. With that said, I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.